Awesome. Hi, Monica, and
Hi,
welcome.
Lourensia.
So, this is my first ever interview, and I'm super excited and a little bit nervous. And I really hope this is going to be like the first of many interviews. And I really feel so incredibly honored to have you as my first guest. Um, yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave the whole introduction to you to tell us more about yourself and how you started, where you started, and so on. But yeah, I've never actually met Monica in real life. We've only spoken on WhatsApp and I don't know, Facebook and whatever. And I've known about Monica for several years. I heard about this photographer who travels a lot and um, she's good with business. So I was really intrigued, from long ago already. And then we met along the way. And yeah, but I think let's get started and then you can tell us everything.
Okay, thanks so much for having me today. So first and foremost, I'm an optimist, and I always like to introduce myself as that because I feel like our what we do doesn't always define who we are, and our careers and our businesses we can lose it at any moment, and we can change careers at any moment. You know, like COVID did for a lot of people. So yeah, first and foremost, I'm an optimist, and I always look at ways of solving problems rather than focusing on the drama of something.
Mm.
So that's my first thing. And yeah, I've actually been in the industry 20 years now. This is my second decade, and I'm celebrating it here
Oh,
in
wow.
London. This interview is happening in London.
Oh,
I've,
yes, in
I've been
London.
here for a few weeks, yeah, and I was meant to fly back to South Africa yesterday, but I decided that I'm not ready yet. So I've extended my ticket by 2 weeks. So that's been
Oh,
amazing.
awesome.
Um, yeah, but I started off 2 decades ago. I did my photography degree in the UK.
Hmm.
I started off at age 30 because I didn't know, going through my 20s what I was doing with my life. And then I hit uh, like a pivotal moment where I was like, I can't just be mucking around. I was traveling, I was doing a little bit of babysitting, nanning, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Ended up in nursery school training, and then thought I really
Oh,
need
wow.
to get focused on a career, and then I decided on photography, and it's been quite a journey. So I actually started off on film. I started shooting on film,
Hmm.
and so I was
The
around
good
when
old
the
days.
transition happened. Yes, when the transition happened to digital. And yeah, I've worked in many genres. I started off photographing rock bands in the UK, and that was a
Ah,
very, very interesting time of my life. I got to start work at 11 at night, and sometimes I'd work until 3 in the morning photographing,
oh, my
big
word.
bands. And then I transitioned into weddings, and then I moved into fashion and into food. And all the while I was getting commissions all over the world. And I think I've photographed in just about on every continent besides South America.
I didn't even know this. I didn't even know about the fashion
Yeah,
and the food and everything like that.
yeah.
Wow.
And it's been quite a journey for me. And now I've settled on photographing women, and so I do a mix of women, like in studio, just doing uplifting images of women and personal branding shoots. And then during the summer, I do family shoots. So it's quite a lovely mix. But I've narrowed it down to mostly to women, and then families, during the
Mm,
summer. So that's
mm.
been quite a quite a good journey. Yeah.
No, that's quite interesting, I must say. And the fact that you actually like traveled and shot and got commissioned from all over the world, that's really not something a lot of people can actually say. So, no, that's quite awesome. So, I mean, in 20 years, a lot of stuff has changed in the photography industry. I mean, I've also
Mm.
been in the photography industry for 24 years now because I studied in 20 Oh no, sorry, 2001. Oh my soul, that's a long time ago. And I mean, from the time we started, like you said, we started on film.
Mm. Yeah.
And then also it used to be a thing, when you had a conversation with someone and they asked you, oh, what do you do for a living? And you said, oh, you're a photographer. And people would go like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. When you tell someone you're a photographer, they go, oh, okay. And I can feel like, there's a lot that changed. But how do you feel? How did it change for you? And how did it influence you over the years?
Mm.
How everything changed, how the industry changed, and so on.
Yeah, I was actually there during the change. So my degree finished in 2004, and my at my university it was the last year. I studied on film, so I spent a lot of time in the dark room, and I learned to think how to when I was shooting, everything was done manually. So I would work
Mm,
out, I'd look at the light and work out, exposures. And so when I
mm,
transitioned to digital, I think I was the last person in our group to actually do it because I was like, I'm not doing it. I don't believe in digital. I only believe in film. And I think part of it was the fear of having to learn a new way. And so
mm.
what I decided to do, and it worked for myself, was I kept my digital camera set to manual, and I've never ever shot an automatic. I don't even know how to use automatic.
I
So
really.
a lot of people put it on AE or something, or I
Oh
don't know what
wow.
it's called. But I only use manual, and then I just still work out lighting and exposure. So I
Mm,
can walk into a room and I can know, oh, I need to change my exposure and I need to change my ISO.
mm.
And I think that's been a good thing. And it's also made me shoot a lot slower because I still tell myself that I'm shooting on film. So
Oh
I'm
wow,
very
that's actually incredible. Mm,
Because it's easy to, when you start shooting, to just get trigger happy with digital and just, take 1,000, like say at a wedding, take 1,000 shots of the shoes.
that's
But
me.
if you're just intentional and you look at the light around you and you take the photograph, you actually only need to
Mm,
take less. But it has been a really big shift. And I think for many photographers, even in terms of socially, I mean, now that there's digital, we can actually have our work given to like held on a bigger platform like social media. We can have our images on social media, and somebody in America can see them, somebody
mm,
in Europe, and so we have a bigger audience now that can see our work and decide to book us. So that's been
mm,
a really big change. Another really big change for me is that when I was doing photography, it was very much shoot and burn. So I would photograph for my clients on film, and then I'd print the images and give them the images. And
mm,
that's kind of come back now all these years
mm,
later because I went through a period when I was shooting digital where I'd give my clients the digital images, and I didn't know there was another way. I used to think, oh well, yeah, you can pay me X amount. It was like a fixed number. I'd go and do their shoot, let's say the family shoot, and then at the end of it, I'd say, here's a USB with all your pictures. And I didn't realize that I was actually doing my clients and myself a disservice because, for
mm,
one, it meant that my income was capped at a certain number. If I shot a certain number of shoots a month, that was all that I was earning. And
mm,
my clients were then left with a USB, digital gallery, and they were like, okay, now they have to go print the images. And
mm,
so I transitioned to what's called IPS, in-person sales, but I
mm,
actually prefer to call it in-person serving because I feel like it's serving your client in a more aligned way. So
mm,
whereas before it would be, here's your digitals, go off to whatever shop to print, and then you'd never hear from them again. With in-person sales, in-person serving, I would then meet my client, do their shoot. Several days later, I'd have them come back to my home, and we'd meet in my viewing room if they lived in Cape Town, and I'd show them a slideshow on my TV of like 60 of the best images, and then they'd buy individual images, and then
mm,
I would then either put that together for them, in an album, or I'd have framing done for their home. So it completely changed the trajectory of my business because it meant that my clients were now happier. They didn't have to go and sit and go through photographs and decide what to put where. And
mm,
it also meant that my income wasn't capped. I could literally earn, there was no ceiling. So
mm.
my income went, I literally, I would say in less than a year, I 10x my income.
Oh wow,
And I've,
that's a lot.
and that's huge because I didn't know that it was even possible. I had like a light bulb moment when a
Mm,
friend of mine who was doing the system, her name's Jules Morgan. She's a really fantastic photographer. She's now living in the Netherlands. But she was living in Cape Town. We are very good friends, and she said, "Oh, I've been doing it this way," and I thought, that'll never work in South Africa, but it actually did, and it still does, and
and I
it's
think a
what's
lot of people has that mentality, like it's not going to work
yes.
here or it's not going to work in my country or whatever.
Mm.
Mm,
Yes, and I had it. I must say, I was dubious when I started. I thought, I don't think this is going to work here. Also the money, money mindset, thinking,
mm,
who has the money? Are South Africans actually going to pay? And then I thought, let me just give it a go. And then I did my first IPS shoot, and yeah, I literally, I went from, I think I was charging at the time 5,000 South African rands, which in dollars, I think that is around $250. I
Mm,
think it's somewhere around there. And
mm.
my first sale was 30, just over 30,000 rand,
That's insane.
which blew my mind because I wasn't used to earning that kind of money. And I think that's around $1,500. Yeah.
Mm.
And that was the start of this big change in my business.
I think, sorry, I'm quickly going to stop you. I
Mm.
um just want to check because now I'm getting this message that, oh, there you go. Sorry, this laptop's battery isn't lucky anymore, and I have it
Oh,
plugged in, and then I got a message that the battery is low, and I was starting to like panic that the computer's going to turn off. Okay, now we're good. Okay, there we go. It's like I don't
mm.
want a computer to die on
Oh
me
no.
through.
But
Um,
it's also good to have these glitches because it just normalizes things as well. I'm realizing that in my business more and more that things don't have to be perfect. And I've
oh
always been a
yes,
perfectionist, but I've realized now, you know what? You just have to do this life thing and just make mistakes
just
along the way
do
because
it.
it's
And I
real.
think, and I feel like the older I get, the less I care about these silly things. Yay.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
probably,
yeah, no, totally. Me too. Me too.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
just getting back to, I just quickly want to mention something. I think what you said about IPS, in-person sales, I love the way that you change that to in-person service because that is exactly what it is. And I think it makes it feels better because the moment we hear sales, we think, oh no, and I have to sit and sell to someone. Whereas you turn it around and you think about serving the person, giving them a good or great service, I think it just feels better and sounds better and doesn't feel so heavy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yet, if you think about it, we are dealing with sales in our everyday life. I mean, you'd go to Woolworths and there would be a transaction with a teller. That's a
Mm,
sale. You'd go and have your hair cut, and that's a sale. And so I always try and look at it. I think if photographers um, stepped into a role of being like owning it, like owning who you are in your business and owning that role as a photographer and not just thinking, oh, I'm just, got digital. I'm just going to go take some pictures for someone and then they're going to pay me something. Oh, lucky me. But to rather just change the energy around who they are and say, well, actually, this is my business. This is how I support myself, my lifestyle, my family. This is how
mm,
I, pay for my children's education and then look at it like an equal exchange of energy and service. I think a lot can shift mentally because it has for me. When I
mm,
initially started with in-person serving, part of me thought, oh my gosh, my clients are now going to be paying more. But I realized, so before I moved, let me just backtrack a little. Before I moved into in-person serving, I sent an email out to most of my email lists to say, for those of you that have experienced a service with me when I gave you digitals, have you printed any of the images? 80% of my clients had not printed their images,
I
and for
believe
some of them,
that.
it had even been close to 10 years. And
Wow.
I was like, oh my word. And many of them were like, oh, you just reminded us we've got to go and get them printed.
Mm,
And then I realized, oh my gosh, like what are we doing this for? We're giving our
mm,
clients digital images. We're saying, there you go. But I think it's kind of like going to a restaurant, sitting down, and then the waiter running out and saying, oh, we've got all your vegetables on the counter. Why don't you come up and chop them up and make your dinner? That's how I looked at it. And so I decided to shift my mindset and say, what can I do to serve my client in the best way so that I free up time for them so they don't have to now go, oh, let me see what photographs work well together. Then they have to figure out how to design an album or
mm,
what am I going to put in the lounge above my couch?
mm,
Oh, then they get overwhelmed and they don't do anything. So I
mm,
take away all that from them and I do it all. And it's a process that I do with them so that they get the best from their images.
mm.
And there's actually been psychologists have done research on this, and they've actually proved that um, when families have shoots done and their children see images framed at home on a wall or they page through an album, the children actually feel more connected to their parents and they
Mm,
feel more loved and they feel more secure because imagine a child's running down a passage and there's this beautiful framed portrait of them being hugged by their mom or their dad. or if they're adopted, being hugged by their carer, um, they're going to feel that sense of, oh yes, I'm loved, I'm cared for,
Mm.
and they're going to see this, and it's an underlying subconscious thing that they're seeing all the time. And I think that is really crucial in our industry, and this is where photographers have the opportunity to really, not only do it, for ourselves to up level our income, but to do it for your clients.
Oh,
It's really
absolutely.
changed my whole business. Yeah,
Mm.
it's made me feel proud to be a photographer. Look, it doesn't work for everybody, and a lot of people, I'd never knock any method, that people are using. For a lot of photographers, they prefer to just give their clients digitals, and there's a space for everyone in the industry. So I'm
Mm.
not saying what I'm doing is right, just saying
Mm.
that it's worked for me and it's worked for my lifestyle
Mm.
and it's worked for my clients. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
huge challenge in business.
And I'm wondering, I think it's something that I experienced myself. I don't know. This is just something that popped up in my mind. Maybe I don't know what you would have to say to someone who says, but um, I think that like the whole in-person service, in-person sales, even if it's in-person service,
Mm,
photographers feel a little bit insecure about themselves and about the process and about the work they do. I think sometimes for myself, and it's a little weird to admit maybe, but you shoot something, you send it to them, and then you're like, okay, now I don't have to worry about it anymore.
mm,
Where now it feels like this whole process that you have to go through with your clients, and you sort of maybe in the back of your mind think, what if they really hate this and they don't want to actually buy anything from me? Or,
mm,
what if I tell them, oh, you can put a framed image up here, but that's not, maybe it's not going to work. Or I don't know, like our own
mm.
insecurities. Like, how do you deal with that? Um,
Um, so what I realized was, okay, so first of all, what I realized was that when I did my first in-person sales sale, the way my client reacted to not reacted, responded to the images was something that I was like, oh my God. Like, she actually had tears in her eyes, and she
oh,
said,
that's awesome.
these are the most beautiful photographs I've ever seen of myself. And it made me realize that I'd missed that experience all those years of shooting. So when I
Mm,
would send my clients their digital gallery, I wouldn't see what they loved. I wouldn't see the ones that made them feel emotional. I
mm,
wouldn't, I wouldn't see their reaction. And so seeing that reaction has made me feel like I'm even more connected to my client. They feel more connected to me, and then they're likely to use me in the future.
mm,
So it was a process. I'm not going to lie. When I started, I was a little bit apprehensive, and I thought, oh, I've got to learn a whole new method, because you know what it's like in life. It's easier to stay safe, where
yes.
you don't have to stretch yourself and feel that discomfort of learning something new. And so
Mm,
it took me, my friend Jules, photographer that I mentioned earlier, she had been doing RPS for a year ahead of me.
mm,
And I just couldn't, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to learn new things now. It's going to be so hard. And I came up with all these stories. And during that process of not doing it, I was still teaching myself how to do it. And then when I finally made that first sale, I was then so excited. And then I had a panic. And then I went back to doing shoot and burn, because I was like, no, that was just luck. It's not going to happen again.
mm,
And then when I did it and I got paid my fixed amount, I thought, I just can't do this. It's so much work. It's preparing my client's shoot. It's driving to the shoot. It's doing the shoot, coming home, downloading, editing, going through like 1,000, however many pictures it was, editing the images. And then I thought, no, let me just try it one more time. And then I did it again. And then I said, that's it. And then I
recognize.
learned. It was through trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes. And yeah, but then I taught myself, and I put myself through my own training. I got help from a lot of people out there. I researched stuff online, but then
Mm,
I tweaked it my way to fit into. I mean, it can fit into any market in any country, but I've tweaked it specifically for South African market, because I knew this
mm,
is how my clients work here. And and then it's kind of evolved, and I've helped a lot of photographers along the way. I've done quite a bit of one-on-one coaching with photographers. I've got 2 students in New York currently, and I've got
Oh, wow.
3 photographers in South Africa that I do coaching with. And I've taught them the way that I've learned. It's been a bit of a messy process because, photography is not it's not linear. You don't just
Mm-mm.
go A, B, C, D. It's things jump
No.
around.
Mm.
And so yeah, but I have put together a course, a program.
Okay, that sounds so awesome. I would love to know more about the course, because I think there's a lot of photographers who are looking for help. I mean, I've never done in-person sales or anything like this. So yeah, it feels a little bit daunting. And I think if you know there's someone out there who can help you, it really yeah, I think it will help to get the guidance from someone because I think it feels to me like there's so many steps that there's so much to think about, so much that goes into it. Um, and it's not just about the steps, like you said, ABC. It's not as linear, but also it has a lot to do with mindset. I think a lot. Not just about your own insecurities, but also when it comes to money and stuff like that as well. So, but anyway, I
Mm.
would love to hear a little bit about the course. What have you been working on? What's your plans for the future for that?
Yeah. So first I must just add that or just say that trying and moving into anything new can be so scary. And I mean it took me a year, as I said, to make the transition because I just thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I
Mhm.
can actually, and I don't know if I can actually ask my clients for more money. Like I felt so uncomfortable around money. I knew that I needed to earn more because it was a struggle every month and it was a hustle. And I was feeling like I would do a shoot, I'd get paid, and then it would whoops go into
It's
rent or
just
go into
gone.
something. And it
Mhm.
was this, I felt that, and I thought, I can't live like this.
Mhm.
I can't live. I was getting a lot of shoots in, but I wasn't taking into account, like say for example you do a shoot on the beach and then it ends up being windy, then you have to take your gear to go get cleaned, and then that would cost me 4,000 rand, and then I'd be like, have I just spent 4,000 rand cleaning my gear and I've just earned that on a shoot? So
Mhm.
I thought, no, something's got to change,
Mhm.
so it was a struggle when I started, but I didn't know who to go to for help, and so I literally just found mentors online. I learned from all different people, and it took a long time. And then I thought to myself, more and more photographers are coming to me and saying, we see you publishing work online. How are you getting work? What are you doing? And then I just started to give away free information. I was just helping people all over the place, just
Mhm.
saying, yeah, this is what I do. This is how you can get going. And then I signed up with a business coach. You and I are now with the same business coach, which is amazing.
Yes, we
And
are.
and I had a previous business coach before that who was also really wonderful. But I felt like this new coach could help me with what I'm, with this not coaching program, with this photography program.
Mm.
So what I've actually done is it's taken me several years because I haven't really felt ready, and I thought, how am I going to juggle my own shoots and coaching? But I
Mm.
feel like I'm almost ready to take off now and do it. But I put together a 6-week program for photographers, which I've done in my own way. So, in my own way, meaning all the mistakes that I've made along the way, I've incorporated that into the program to show
Mm.
photographers because I get overwhelmed by stuff. And when some people, they get overwhelmed, they take action. I take action when I get overwhelmed, but sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I also just want to pull,
You
the
just
blanket
go
over
like,
my head and go,
yeah,
I can't deal with this. It's too much to
procrastinate.
do.
Yes,
Yeah. And
totally.
so what I've done is I've made a program that it's got easy steps to follow so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't get overwhelmed, and there's a great support on there. So I would say, for example, let's just hypothetically, I would do a training on a Tuesday, and then at the end of the training, which would be say an hour, I'd have Q&A, like either at the end of that training or the following day we'd have like where people can ask questions.
Mm.
And I've mapped it out in such a way that I've taken away all the fluff because there's a lot of information out there. So I've
Mm.
taken away all the insignificant stuff and all the fluff, and I've put together a basic program to get photographers going. So you don't need to go from earning, what you're earning now, say with giving your client digitals to suddenly earning 10x, but
Mm.
it's to take you through the steps so that your nervous system is also regulated, because to
Uh,
jump from earning, say, $200 or say 2,000 rand a shoot to suddenly earning 10 or 20,000 rand a shoot, it's
it's
you have to be used to
nerve-wracking.
that. Yeah, so I take you through a whole system that just shows you how to do the process. And then one of the crucial things is, and I know this from a personal perspective, years ago I had no idea how to charge. So when it came to weddings, and I was, say 20 years ago doing weddings,
Mm.
um, I didn't know what to charge. So I was just asking other photographers, what are you charging? And then I was just kind of charging what they were charging.
And a
And
lot
I
of
didn't.
people still do that.
Yes, and I was literally thinking, what I charge with RPS. I actually have a system that I work with. It's I work out cost of doing business and
Mm.
your cost of goods. So what your camera costs, your software. If you've hired a virtual assistant, if
Mm.
you're paying for a studio, if you getting your camera cleaned, all those things. And then I have like a I don't really like spreadsheets, to be honest. I don't love numbers and I don't love spreadsheets, but I've got a system that I use where you plug in all your numbers and
Mm.
it pops out a number of what you could potentially be earning per
Mm.
client. And I don't really like the word should, but it gives you based on, so for example, when I start off my year, I always say, okay, I always start off with how many weeks of holiday do I want a year? I always start off with myself first and my family, what do I want for the year?
Mm.
And I don't have children, so I don't have to plug in the school holidays. So I just say I want 12 weeks holiday a year. Then I
Mm.
map those 12 weeks out on the calendar. Then I work out, okay, how many shoots am I going to do a year? And this is once I've done my cost of doing business and my cost of goods. Then I
Mm.
see, okay, I need to be earning X amount per client. Then I go, okay, and then I times that by the number of shoots I want to be doing a year, and then I see, okay, this
Mm.
is how many shoots I need to do a year, this is how many shoots I need to do a month, and so I include this whole system in my program so that photographers aren't left thinking, oh, this month I've made, $1,000 or 20,000 rand, and
Mm.
then next month I've made five. So
Mm.
it helps you keep consistent with your numbers. It
Mm.
helps you predict your income, which is a really great thing because I now know
Wow.
between six months, in advance what bookings I've got coming in,
Mm.
and what I'm going to be making from those clients. So
Actually, talking about the spreadsheet and the numbers, I've sort of come to the same realization. I also made my own little spreadsheet and sort of worked out, my stuff in that way. And I realized that we put so much emotion into what we have to charge and what can we charge and what should we charge. And like you say, we look at other photographers instead of looking, because not every photographer will be charging the same because your whole lifestyle, your whole life, everything is different. So you can't be charging whatever anyone else is
yeah,
charging.
yes,
And also, I think as soon as you start doing it that way, it takes out the emotion maybe a little bit in the sense that we are only looking at the numbers. These are the facts.
absolutely,
Because
yes,
this is what you have to do to run your business. This is what it's costing you to run the business. This
mm,
is what you are capable of or whatever. And it's sort of, yes, more looking at the facts and then basing your numbers or your whatever you're charging around that. And then I think you need to learn to just step back and say, like, well, this is what it is. So I
mm,
think that also, but that's where a lot of photographers don't know what to do. Like, they
mm,
don't understand how to start with that. So
yeah.
I can imagine that's something that's very, very helpful for photographers. Uh,
Yes, and I cover a whole module with that because I must be honest, when I had to do the numbers, I avoided it like the plague. I would go into my kitchen and then I would start to eat because I'm a little snapper when I get stressed, and I would start to eat, or I'd go clean a cupboard. I'd be like, oh, I can't do this today. But I promise you, I was always finding these
on the
distractions.
time.
And then I just thought I have to do this. So in the program, I've actually got a whole module on it, and I help you through the numbers. And it'll be quite amazing to see how many people will be needing to charge different things. So like I don't have to pay school fees, and I don't have to, and we all have different things that we have to pay. So I have other responsibilities, and I have other things that I need to cover in my month's expenses. So
Definitely.
I think there's an actual shift that happens when you do your numbers, because you realize, before I did my numbers, I wasn't treating my business as an actual business.
Mm.
Like if a client said, "Oh, can I have a discount?" I was like, "Sure, you can have a discount," and then I give like 10%. And then when I moved into RPS, I thought, not everybody wants a discount. And I discovered, some of my clients have got, have got more disposable income to spend on photographs. Some clients don't.
Mm.
But I found a way of giving my clients more value. So like, for example, if a client said, "Oh, can I have a discount, or can I get something extra?" Instead of giving a discount, I'd actually give them, say, an extra printed image. And they'd
Mm.
be like, there was more value in that
Yes, makes
than
sense.
giving them a discount, for example. But sorry, going back to the numbers, once you know what you're spending, what your business is costing you, you will
Mm.
be like, "Oh my gosh, I have been totally working for free,
Mm.
basically." Because I can say now, so many photographers I know get to the end of the month and they're like, "Oh, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to, you
Exactly.
know,
Mm.
or and then they stress about it." And with in-person sales, look, it does still take work and you have to
Mm.
market yourself, but I also cover the marketing aspect in the program.
Mm.
Um, it's an absolutely sustainable income. I manage to travel now 3 times a year,
Oh, that's
and I
awesome.
bought myself a beautiful apartment, and it has been work along the journey, but it just takes your business into another level where you feel like you're really running a business, and
Mm.
you can see your business growing, and
Mm.
you can see your clients are happier because you're giving more. So it's a win-win situation.
I
Yeah.
think, money, or there's never like easy money. There's always work that needs to go into anything you do. Because if
Mm,
there was easy money, then everyone would do that. Um, so, there is still work that needs to go in it. It's just different type of work. And I think, if I look at photographers, especially moms, you get a lot of photographers, women photographers, and they're moms and wives and whatever. And uh, everyone I talk to, they sit and they edit until, the morning hours just to get their stuff done. Um, and I think that's something, that needs to change as well, because you're working yourself into the ground.
mm,
You might as well focus that attention, effort somewhere else, and just to get your business to work for you, as well.
mm.
And then talking about editing, do you outsource anything? Do you edit your own images, or how do you do that?
So I must mention that one of the best things that happened doing RPS was that I ended up working less hours. So I got tired of weekends shooting. So I
Mm.
would do a wedding on a weekend. This is before I moved into some photographers do RPS with weddings, but I don't deal with that side. I deal with photographers that are doing portraits, like say
Mm.
family shoots, people and their dogs, you know, woman photography.
Mm.
Um, so so when I made the shift over, one of the reasons was because I was exhausted from shooting weddings. I loved my time doing weddings and I met incredible people, but I got to a point where I was like, I can't do another wedding.
Mm.
Every weekend I was doing weddings. Like if I shot on a Saturday, I was totally, Sunday was a write-off because I was
Can't
exhausted.
do anything else.
And then the editing would start, and it would take me sometimes a whole week to go through all the editing. And
Mm.
and I was um I was editing late into the night. It affected relationships. I was always saying to my boyfriend, "I'm sorry, I'll come watch a movie with you a little bit later. I just got to finish this." And then I'd be like blurry eyed, doing the little
Mm.
um and when I moved to RPS, I suddenly had all this free time because I was suddenly working like 20 hours a week. And I thought, wow, now what do I do with my time? I have all
What's
my
going
weekends
on?
free. I have all my weekends free. The only time I shoot on a weekend is if a client, like say in the summertime over Christmas, when it's all the family shoots happening for Christmas, then I
Mm.
might do a weekend. But otherwise, I never shoot on weekends.
That's
I'll
amazing.
shoot during the week, and then I don't do any of my retouching anymore because my income escalated. I then had the money to pay for someone to do the retouching. So I have a retouching team, and then I will go through the images myself. I'll select, let's say for example, I'm doing a woman's beauty shoot. I'll select 60 images. I'll give them a basic, like if somebody's got maybe a little blemish on their skin, I'll remove that quickly. But I don't spend more than half an hour going through the gallery, just quickly ding, 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 ding.
Mm.
And then I do the viewing with them online. And a viewing can be online, like on Zoom, like we're doing now, but I'll share my screen and say, here's your images and go through them.
Mm.
Or the client will come to my home studio, and then I will show them on the TV. But then they would select the images, and then the ones that they select and purchase, I would then send those ones away to be retouched.
Okay.
And what I found by doing that, because the retouching can take long, even with AI, you
Mm.
still need to, figure out the software and then do your retouching.
Mm.
I just decided, do you know what? I could rather use that time to market my business, grow my
Mm.
business, and scale my business. And so moving over and outsourcing to a retouching team has been one of the best financial moves I've made in my business.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I definitely agree. I think more photographers should actually just outsource.
Yeah.
It's not that scary. I think it's just letting go or realizing that sometimes someone can do can also do a good job, but
Mhm.
sometimes they can even do a better job than you. So, but it's
So
sometimes about finding the right editor as well.
yes. So what I do is and I think this could help a lot of photographers. So when I send my images off to the retouching team, I get them to clean it up. So like let's just say we're in studio and there's a mark on the backdrop, or maybe a piece of hair that I didn't see because I'm
Mm.
shooting. I didn't see a little piece of hair up and the lights caught it. The retoucher does that, cleans the backdrop, and then evens out the skin. But they don't they don't add anything to the image to make it look a certain way. They literally clean it up. And I always look at it
Just a
like,
mundane.
yeah, so I look at it like going into a room and vacuuming and
Okay,
dusting.
yes,
You're
yes,
kind of cleaning it, but then you're still adding your own magic touch. So the magic touch would be your preset that you might
right,
add
yes, yes.
to your
Okay.
to your image. I know you do beautiful fine artwork, so it would be doing your final touches onto that.
Mm.
I always think like in a room when you vacuum, it's like adding in your flowers and your aesthetics to that image.
Yes.
And so that's what I do. So once I get the TIFF files back from my retouching team, I then open that in Lightroom, and then I'll add my own little, something to it. Like I might add something that's my signature touch, and then I
Mm.
have a preset, and then I add that. But
Mm.
but when you're getting your images back, they're not looking different. They're just looking clean. Like
Okay,
just
yeah.
you
You're just
evened
keeping
out maybe
boring.
the skin where there's big pores. You might
Mm.
have they cleaned up the little lines in the eyes where maybe your clients maybe had some bags under the eyes, and they've cleaned that
Mm.
away. But it's still the same image. So for example, if an image is you send it away and it's kind of a little bit underexposed, it will still come back underexposed
Okay, I see.
unless you say to the retoucher, can you please like lighten this? But
Mm.
I like mine to come back exactly as they are, just clean,
Mm. Okay.
just,
Yeah,
and
and
then
I
I add.
think in the end, it's your
Mm,
decision as well, like how much you want the retoucher or editor, how much you want them to do. I mean, you could still
yes,
control certain aspects if you want to. If you get someone that you can trust or that's really good, you can send them everything. Um,
yes,
yeah, but like you say, you don't have to give everything to a retoucher, maybe only like certain aspects that takes a lot of time. Um,
yes.
yeah,
But
no, that's
I
awesome.
think also I think also one of the crucial things is like for me when I was editing the long hours, it not only affected, relationship and but it affected my sleep, it affected my mental health. I would just be completely exhausted. I would miss going to
Mm.
gym because if I go to gym now, then I have to get dressed and then I have to go to gym and then I have to get home and then I've got to shower, and that's taking up all this time when I could be editing. And then I
Yeah.
realized, but I don't want my life to be like this. I don't want to
Mm.
be, going around and around in a circle. And
Like
I
a hamster
I think,
wheel.
I think, yeah, and I just thought, with RPS, it's really freed up my time. I'm earning more now. My clients are getting more now. I can go and exercise. I can go meet a friend for lunch. I don't have this heaviness hanging over my business, and my business feels quite light and wonderful. Like I'm having
Mm.
more freedom. And
Mm.
yes, when you set it up, it can feel a bit overwhelming. But in the program I put together, I've kept it so simple because I want people to get started,
Mm.
and you don't need a studio to start. You don't need to have fancy, equipment to start. I show you how to get going with the basics so that you can
Basics.
start to
Mm.
generate, income within the first few weeks of
Mm.
the program. You can literally take your business and get out there.
I
you
think I
know.
should do your program, definitely. I'm talking about money. A lot of people get triggered by money talk. Like they get so
Mm.
uncomfortable the moment you ask them, how much money do you make? So can I ask you, how much money do you make? Like
Sure.
per shoot or per month?
Yeah. So first I have to say around money, I used to feel triggered by it as well. And 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 I always used to feel shy talking about money. But when I worked with my previous business coach, we covered money and realized that money is energy. So when you give more to your client and you serve your client in a more aligned way, you can make more money. If you think about
Mm,
it this way, if you're going to a beauty salon and you're getting say getting a facial done and a massage, and then they say, oh, we're going to include, you know, to do your feet, or they bring you a coffee and they bring you a cake, and they give you flowers, or they do whatever, and then they make the whole experience wonderful for you. You don't mind to pay that money. And
mm,
so I realized that as long as I was giving my clients more value, when they then paid me, I would feel comfortable receiving the money.
mm.
And
Makes sense.
they would feel happy to get what I've given them, because you're not giving your clients photographs. You're not saying, here's a beautiful frame and here's a beautiful album. What you're giving them is the experience,
Mm,
and that's what's crucial. When they connect with you, and then you have become part, let's just say hypothetically a family shoot. You've say done a family shoot on a beach with your client. You've then connected with your client. When you then do the viewing with them, you see them crying, you see the husband maybe hugging his wife, going, oh baby, look at us with our kids, look what we made. And then you see that's, yeah, you see that beautiful, moment, like you know these kids are ours, and now we have these pictures, and you see their reaction to it, that people don't then mind to pay the money.
mm,
So yeah, so I started off with um I think I mentioned earlier, my biggest, not my biggest, my first sale was the 30,000. But over the years doing in-person sales, my average now, and the way that I work out an average is I take the number of shoots per genre that I do in the year, and I divide it by 12. I
okay.
mean, no, sorry, I'm talking rubbish. Let me re-say that. I take the number of shoots that I do, and then I add up the money that I do, and I divide it by the number of shoots. So if one
Okay.
shoot is 20,000, 130,000, I add up all those and then I divide it. So my average shoot at the moment for families is 42,800 Rand. And that's,
Oh,
I
wow.
think that's around $2,000.
Mm,
And a lot of people have said, oh, it must be international clients, but it's not. I've got some internationals coming in. I do have quite a few German clients, but a
okay.
lot of my clients are from Johannesburg, Cape Town. And then I do payment plans, so they can pay for the images over 3 months.
Mm,
Um, and then for my women's shoots, so I basically focus now on families, beauty shoots in studio, like women's shoots, and personal branding, which is
mm,
which is now like on the up. It's photographing specifically female-led business
mm,
owners, entrepreneurs. I photograph them and do their branding and their photographs for their website and social media and business.
mm.
Um, and that's actually comes in a little bit lower than family shoots. My average shoot for the woman and the personal branding shoots is 34,000. So
Okay.
it comes in under the family shoots, but I get joy from both of them,
Mm.
from doing both. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And I think to hear, okay, so obviously there's international people that I'm sure is going to listen to this as well. But our economies aren't the same all over the world.
Mm.
But trust me, for a lot of South African photographers, when they hear those numbers, they're going to be like, what? I don't think there's a lot of people who won't believe that you are actually able to make that type of money. So that's really incredible. I actually want to ask you something else.
Mm.
When it comes, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but when it comes to, let's say, like smaller towns, that's more, um, I don't know how we could say rural, whatever. It's not the big cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg, or whatever. There's a lot of photographers that tell me, but you know what, we can't charge what you charge in the big city. And I think to extent they're all right, because I don't think everyone wants or can or are able to or want to take out those I don't know. Sorry, am I making sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely,
Do you
yeah.
have any like specific tips for photographers like that?
So I do know this question I've heard before in the on an American group that I'm on, about the small towns. So and the way so I don't actually know a lot of photographers in South Africa that are living in smaller towns, but I think if I had to think for myself and based on what was said in the American groups with the smaller towns is that if you are earning, if you know that you're going to be generating a bigger income, would you then be willing to travel? Like, let's just say, for example, I know this can't work if you have a photo studio, but let's
Mm,
just say that you don't have a studio and you're doing family shoots or whatever. Would you be willing to travel in order to up your income? And I can answer for myself. I would absolutely be willing to travel. Like, let's just say an hour to an hour and a half to go
mm,
to clients.
mm.
So it depends how remote. I think it's in South Africa. Maybe it's fair to say if you're in a really really tiny place, you could then hope for traffic to come through the town. Maybe it's a little popular town. Maybe it's like Oudtshoorn, for example, and you're going to get a lot of tourists there. Maybe get some, and it's still a small town, so you think, oh, how am I gonna promote? Maybe then get some brochures made or something printed and put it in and ask at the different tourist spots, can I leave something here? Some of them
Mm,
might charge you.
mm.
That's like one way of getting your name out. So for example, what I do is um, I've run a several women's campaigns where I photograph women and then I create a magazine for them and it's got the women's stories in there. I then give them the magazine. But what I'm doing now is I thought one way to expand the marketing is to create more magazines so that I can put them in doctors' offices and put them in
Oh,
spas
yes.
and get them out, in another way. So maybe
Mm,
just if you're living in a small town, maybe connect with the local people in your town and say, could I leave something in the dentist's office? Could I leave something, because in that way more you're getting more eyes on your business.
mm.
And if you have a studio, and you think, oh, how can I charge? Maybe look at your town as being not just serving the people that are in that town, but serving beyond.
Further out. And I
Yeah.
think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but even if you live in a smaller town where you think people don't have money or they say they don't have money, once again your market might change a little bit. You might actually find the clients that are willing to pay more, and you might be surprised that maybe there are people in your small town that are actually willing to pay. You just didn't
Yeah.
know they existed. And even if you go from something like, let's say, 2,000 or 3,000 rand a shoot up to something like 7,000 rand a shoot. I mean, that's still better
Excellent.
than what it
Yes.
was, So maybe not 30,000 like you would in
Yes.
maybe a bigger city or something like that. But I do feel that maybe there is more potential. People
Mm.
just sort of, we have this view of,
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I do want to point out that I do know, like you were saying earlier, people can get triggered with money. And for me, I can just say, like, to photographers that are wanting to make that switch over and going to be changing, you can, it's not about going from a small amount to a massive amount. So you can comfortably do a great sale and let's just say go from 2,000 Rand to, say, like you said, 7,000 Rand. That's still excellent.
Mm,
And that's still fantastic.
yeah.
And when we go through the numbers, you'll work out, maybe if you're living in a town, maybe you're paying less rent than if you were living in a city.
Mm.
So like where I'm living in Sea Point in Cape Town, my rent is quite high.
Oh,
And
yes,
I have
that's
my
true.
overheads for my studio, so I'm charging more, and I've factored that in. So when
Mm.
you're in a smaller town, let's just say your rent is much less, and you don't have to drive everywhere, and you're not stuck in traffic, and so
Yeah,
it's
that's
so,
true.
so your
That's true.
costs are down. So then, if you're earning 7,000 Rand a month or $400 a month, or whatever it is, you've still you've still quantum leapt in your business. You've still taken your business, and you now what you're earning on one shoot, you would have had to do three shoots for.
Yes, exactly.
That's still very good. So
Mm.
it's not, so I think ignore the bigger numbers, but look at the
Yes,
fact that,
yes.
number one, how can I serve my clients in a better way?
Mm,
so that they are getting, these beautiful, beautiful photographs.
mm.
And then how can I make this business more of a business? Because the bottom line is you're in business to make money. We are all in
That's the whole
business
point.
to, and a lot of people feel scared to say that, but we're not a charity. We're running a business so that we can have the lifestyle that we want. We want to be able to pay rent and not have to go to bed at night worrying like, oh my gosh, tomorrow's the end of the month. How am I going to make the rent? How am I
Mm.
going to pay for the bills? And with in-person sales, it can take you into that way. But I will do a little bit more thinking. I'll put on my thinking cap and think what photographers in these more remote areas can do to generate
Mm.
more of an income. Um, and yeah, and I'll put something together and think
Yeah, I
that,
think
a
I
little
think
bit
that
more
maybe,
deeply about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe there is like there's different scenarios or different, where you do get influenced a little bit by where you live and so on. I wanted to ask something else now about marketing. I think maybe these two can go hand in hand, but how do you? There's a lot of people, a lot of photographers struggling at the moment with the economy
yeah.
all over the world. Firstly, like, has it had an influence on you and your business? Do you feel that pressure of the economy isn't great? And then also for the people who are struggling, do you have any like specific marketing tips maybe for them to help them out or something they should
Mm-hmm.
think about?
Yeah, so I have heard in the industry that a lot of people are struggling now, and I think the reason I haven't felt the struggle so much is because I launched a campaign and I got people to book me like for the shoot. So I was booked a year in advance because I had this campaign. My first campaign
Mm,
was called the 40 over 40 Women's Portrait Campaign, which I launched I think about four years ago, and so I literally clients came to me and then they booked their date with me, paid their session fee, um, and so I knew that I had the booking. So I wasn't aware of that there was an issue with the economy. But a lot of people have said now recently that they are feeling it. And I
mm,
must say, if I actually think about it now, my inquiries have dropped a bit, so there could be a dip in the industry.
mm,
But then that said, I do find that when I don't market my business, I don't get emails.
mm.
And it's not like, oh, I've done a shoot, my client's going to show all her friends, and I can just literally sit back and they're all just going to
Everything
come
is
to
just
me.
gonna come, exactly.
You have
Or
to.
just post once or twice on Facebook, and then everyone's gonna see it and they're gonna start booking you. It doesn't.
Yes, it doesn't work like that.
Uh,
So I realized very late in the game that marketing is like one of the most fundamental things in my business. And it sounds crazy because I would literally, put a shoot up on my blog and then I would mail my client and then I'd say, oh, do you have any friends? And they might send a friend to me. But I didn't realize that marketing was so much deeper and that to run a truly successful business, marketing needs to be factored into your week. So I would sometimes remember, oh, I need to blog, and then I haven't blogged for, let's just say, a month, and then I'm like, oh, I quickly better blog or I better post on social media. And over the years I've learned that I need to set that time aside. So I aim to do around 10 to 12 hours a week of
that's
marketing.
a lot.
And it is a lot.
Wow.
And for photographers that feel overwhelmed, even hearing that I was as well, I was like, oh gosh, how am I even gonna do this? But
Mm,
if you plan your week, and I often plan my week on a Sunday, I use Google Calendar. I just put things in there. Like if I'm putting in that I'm going to a yoga class, for example, I put in there, yoga, 6 to 7 a.m. and that's scheduled in.
mm,
It's like for me, it's like now like a doctor's appointment. I have to go. And
mm,
then I schedule in, I do like a content marketing day. Sorry, not content day, marketing day, and I schedule that in. So some days I don't feel like it. And then I'll be like, oh, I should be doing 2 hours a day, and then I end up only doing half an hour because I'm just not in the mood. But
forget
I
those
do
days.
try and yeah, I do try and schedule in that time to do the marketing, and that can include blogging and using keywords on your blog. It can be, writing. So what I've started doing now recently, which has really helped, is to, if let's just say you're a family photographer, is to write a little article about family photography. It can be very short,
Mm,
tips on how to have a successful shoot with a toddler,
Oh,
and
yes,
put a picture
yes.
up, pop that on LinkedIn or pop it on your Facebook page, and then you've got more people seeing that. That's like a
Mm.
form of marketing. But it's also knowing who your audience is and knowing how to speak to them. So for me at the moment, I decided to pick two platforms because I was overwhelmed with everything. There's like
It's too
TikTok and
much.
I mean, there's just so many things, and I just thought I can't be jumping around doing all of it. So I'm now doing mostly Instagram
Okay.
and LinkedIn, because
Oh,
LinkedIn is more of a
LinkedIn.
professional. LinkedIn is actually it's I've got a lot of business from LinkedIn. Can you believe
Oh,
it?
what?
Yeah, and it's a very
For what?
untapped.
Yes, but for what type of clients?
So my so mostly my women's beauty shoots and personal branding shoots
Okay.
come from LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's a lot of people on there. They're running their business, and it's a
Mm.
different platform. Like Instagram's colorful and playful, and you can dance and you can do your thing on Instagram and literally do like a little dodgy video of you walking the dog. But on LinkedIn it's more business driven, and it's
Professional.
it's toned down a little bit more. So I feel that even though you still have to maintain your brand on LinkedIn, for example, if I was doing a boudoir shoot, I wouldn't post the boudoir images on LinkedIn, although I'm
No,
sure
no,
some
no, no.
people do. I would post, say, a woman's branding shoot where she's in
Mm,
a
okay.
suit, or maybe even a family shoot. I would say, this is what I've done, this weekend or whatever. But
Mm,
I'm only
okay.
now really getting into LinkedIn, and I'm starting to map out when I want to post on it, because it
That's
really
quite
does help,
interesting.
especially if you tag a client, they then it goes onto their page, their friends see it. I
Mm,
mean, I did a shoot recently, for personal branding client, and I tagged her in it, and she had over 200 views on the thing, and two of her friends then contacted me for shoots. So it really
okay.
is a really great way to.
And I think, like you say, it is an untapped way of marketing for photographers because we don't really understand how it works. And it is for a very specific market. It's not, like you say, for weddings or boudoir or whatever.
Yes.
It's more for headshots or professional people. But if that's something that you do, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into that. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Monica, I am so thankful for your time and your tips and just everything you shared, your knowledge, your insight. It's really helpful. And every time I listen to interviews like this, it just makes me think again. It makes me, want to actually work on the photography business again. And it gives me a little bit of hope to know that there is a better way of running a business, photography business, and that maybe I can actually make money doing it, a certain way. So I'm really excited to learn more about your program and everything that you're going to offer. Okay, so where can people follow you and find you and just learn more about the program that you are planning to launch?
So you can follow me on. I've actually got a new Instagram account, which I haven't been very active on until recently. I'm starting now to add more. It's Monica.education. So it's at
Okay.
Monica.education. And then my photography page, which I share all my images on, is Monica.photography. So what I did want to mention on here before we end, I know for photographers it can be very overwhelming to switch the way that you're doing things,
Mm,
and to have to learn a whole new program. But I can promise you now that the time that you get back in your life and the freedom that you get back to do all the things that you want to do, it far outweighs that learning a new way.
mm,
And the program I put together is it really does take you through the steps that are manageable, and you have the whole support group with you. So if there's something you don't understand, either myself or someone in the group will help you, and everybody's going along the journey, at their own pace, and anything that you need to know within that program will be covered. So if there's something that I'm maybe not talking about, you can say, I don't understand this, or can you explain this more, or what about this area of photography, what about this area? Like, say, for example, your printing or your framing or whatever, then I can just help with that. And it doesn't matter which part of the world you're in. This program can be for
for
any
anyone.
profession, and it's actually only for professional photographers. It's not for, I just want to make it clear that it's not for photographers that want to learn about, their camera or how to shoot.
Mm,
It's for photographers that are established, maybe wedding photographers that have been shooting maybe 5+ years, or even if you've been shooting less, but you totally understand the tech side of photography, but you want to scale your business.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I'm actually running a program. It's going to be like a founding members program where
Mm-hmm.
I'm testing out the actual program on 11 people. I love the number 11, so I'm probably going to take on 11
Okay.
students. And I do have some students on a wait list already, and I have been doing one-on-one. So I'm putting the program together, which I really wanted to have launched in April, but certain things have happened in my family, and life happens and things come up, and I've had to push it out, but it will be launching really soon, and it's going to be, I'd say, founding members, because during this program I'm going to make a lot of mistakes in there, and we're all going to make mistakes in there, but I'm going to. I suppose it's like baking a cake. The first cake you bake, so it'll be me teaching, would be the first cake I bake, isn't going
Yes.
to come out looking like a gourmet cake, but
Perfect.
um, but you will walk away with all the skills that you need to make this transition. And in fact, one of my students in Cape Town, I'm going to mention her name because we're doing a talk together. But her name's Letitia Boyson.
Oh,
She's a
yes.
photographer. She's one of my students, and I
Okay.
mentored her and I helped her take her business almost 10x her business. And she's
Oh,
had
wow.
quite a few sales that have been around 30,000 Rand. And she's done a couple of great months that have been over 80,000 Rand, which is, I
What?
think, like $4,000. And
Wow.
she was ready to actually give up and not carry on with the
Mm.
with the shooting because it was just too much. And then she moved over to in-person sales, and she's since opened a studio. I'm so proud of her. She's since opened a studio, and she's got her business going, and she's put a lot of work into it. So you have to do the work too. And I always say it's like you can't book a personal trainer, go to gym and expect your personal trainer to do the push-ups for you. You actually
Mm.
have to do the work yourself.
Mm.
But you will be very supported and very guided throughout the journey. And I'm here to support my students. I really want the industry, not just in South Africa, but globally. I want photographers, in the industry to be able to appreciate their time more, their work more, and
Mm.
to give more to their clients. So if that's you and you want to work less hours and you want your weekends back and you don't want to be editing every night and you want more quality time with your husband and your partner or your kids, then this is definitely the program for you. Some
I
is a
think
no-brainer.
though the 11 spots are going to go very, very fast, to be honest. So I'm very excited for that. Um, and yes, thank you once again.
It's been amazing. Thanks a lot for your time and for having me on.
Yeah,
Lourensia, I wanted to say to you as well, just thank you so much as well, and for being just so down to earth and so easy and so open.
it's a
And I know you're
pleasure.
also trying to shift the energy of the industry and to make it, more accessible that people can
Mm,
have help, because this industry can be quite lonely. I mean, I felt many, many years
mm.
lonely in the industry. You come home from a shoot and it's just yourself, and you
And
know
your computer.
and you literally you're running many businesses. You're the marketer. You're dealing with your clients. You're dealing with your
Mm,
uh, whatever. You're doing like everything in your business.
that's very
And
true. Mm.
yeah,
Oh
thanks
dear,
so
yeah, I
much.
think I need to go now. Thank
Yeah,
you. I
have an
really
awesome
appreciate
day,
your time so much. You too.
and yours. And I appreciate the
Cool.
opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thanks. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.